The dust settled across the horizon like a whisper of copper as Tom Brennan guided his horse through the narrow pass between two mesas. He'd been riding for 3 days straight, checking fence lines and water sources across his sprawling ranch in western Texas. The land here was unforgiving, beautiful in its starkness, but cruel to those who didn't respect it. Tom had learned that lesson the hard way over his 47 years, the last 20 of them spent working this particular stretch of desert and scrub. He spotted the figure from nearly half a mile away, a dark shape that didn't belong against the pale earth. At first, he thought it might be a lost calf or perhaps a coyote, but as he drew closer, his heart began to hammer in his chest. It was a person, small and hunched, sitting beside what appeared to be a makeshift shelter constructed from canvas and mesquite branches. 2 even smaller shapes lay motionless nearby. Tom spurred his horse into a faster pace, his mind racing through possibilities, none of them good. When he was close enough to see clearly, he pulled up short. The person was a woman, Asian by appearance, her face gaunt and sunburned, her lips cracked and bleeding. She looked up at him with eyes that held a desperate, feral quality, the look of a mother animal protecting its young. "Please," she said, her accent thick but her English understandable. "My children. Water. Please." Tom was off his horse in seconds, reaching for the canteen at his hip. The woman tried to stand but collapsed back to the ground. He could see now that the 2 shapes were children, a boy and a girl, neither of them moving. His stomach dropped as he knelt beside them, pressing his fingers to the boy's neck. There was a pulse, faint but present. "How long have you been out here?" he asked, helping the woman take small sips of water. He'd seen dehydration before. Too much too fast could be dangerous. 5 days, she whispered. 5 days my children eat nothing. We walk from the road. The man, he leave Stati Uniti. Take our money. Leave Stati Uniti here today. Tom felt anger surge through him, hot and righteous. Human traffickers. He'd heard stories from other ranchers about people being abandoned in the desert, promised passage to a better life only to be robbed and left to perish in the wilderness. He'd never encountered it himself until now. "We need to get you to a hospital," he said, already calculating the distance. His ranch house was closer than the nearest town, maybe an hour's hard ride. But with the woman and 2 children, it would take longer. "Can you read it?" She shook her head, then seemed to reconsider. "I try. For my children, ETRY anything." Tom gave water to each of the children, carefully, watching as they stirred and began to drink with desperate gulps. He had to pull the canteen away from the little girl to keep her from making herself sick. "Slowly," he told her gently. "Slowly now." The boy, who couldn't have been more than 7, looked up at Tom with ancient eyes. "Mama," he asked weakly. "I'm here, Liang," the woman said, reaching for him. "We're safe now. This man will help us." Getting all 3 of them onto his horse and the pack mule he'd been leading was a challenge, but Tom managed it. The woman, she told him her name was May, held the little girl while Tom secured the boy in front of him on the saddle. They moved slowly, carefully, as the sun began its descent toward the western horizon. During the journey, May told him her story in fragments, her voice growing stronger as the water revived her. She'd been a widow in a small village in Fujian province. Her husband had died in a factory accident, leaving her with 2 children and debts she could never repay. A man had come to the village, promising work in America, promising a future. She'd sold everything she owned, including the jade wedding dress that had been in her family for 3 generations. She'd worn it when she married Chen, her husband, in a ceremony that felt like a lifetime ago. "I keep only one thing," she said softly. "My wedding dress. Red silk with gold dragons. My grandmother wear it. My mother wear it. I wear it. I think maybe my daughter wear it someday. But now." She trailed off, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. "Now we have nothing. The man take everything but the dress. He say it worth nothing in America. He throw it in my bag, laugh at me." By the time they reached Tom's ranch house, full darkness had fallen, but the lights he'd left burning welcomed them like a beacon. His housekeeper, Rosa, who lived in a small cottage on the property, came running when she heard the commotion. "Dios mío," she breathed, immediately taking charge of the children. Rosa had raised 6 of her own. She knew what to do. Within minutes, she had both children in warm baths, carefully cleaning and hydrating them while Tom called the doctor in town. Dr. Martinez arrived within the hour, a gruff man in his 60s who asked no questions about how Tom had found the family. He examined all 3 thoroughly, setting up 4 fluids for the children and declaring that while they were severely dehydrated and malnourished, they would recover with rest and proper care. "They're lucky you found them when you did," Martinez told Tom quietly as they stood on the porch. "Another day, maybe 2, and those kids wouldn't have made it." Over the following weeks, May and her children slowly regained their strength. Tom set them up in the guest house, a small but comfortable structure that had once belonged to his foreman. Rosa cooked elaborate meals, watching with satisfaction as the children began to fill out, their cheeks growing round and their eyes bright. Tom learned more of their story during evening conversations on the porch. May was educated. She'd been a teacher in China before marrying. Her husband had been a good man, hard-working, who dreamed of giving his children opportunities he'd never had. When he died, those dreams died with him, or so May had thought. The debt collectors had been relentless. The opportunity to come to America, even illegally, had seemed like her only hope. "I was stupid," she said one evening, her English improving daily.
Desperate and stupid. I believe aliarbe cause uno want to believe.
"Now I am here, illegal, with nothing. My children have no future." Tom had been thinking about that. He'd been alone for a long time. His wife had died of cancer 12 years earlier, and they'd never had children. The ranch was profitable enough, but it was big and empty, and he'd felt the weight of that emptiness more acutely since finding May and her children. "What if there was a way?" he asked carefully. "What if there was a way for you to stay, legally?" May looked at him sharply. "There is no way. I am illegal. They will send us back." "There might be a way," Tom said slowly, working through the idea even as he spoke it. "Marriage. If we got married, you could apply for a green card. It would be legal." May stared at him in shock. "You would do this?
For us. You don't know Stati Uniti. We are nothing to you."
"You're not nothing," Tom said quietly. "And those kids deserve a chance. Your husband wanted that for them, didn't he?
A better life."
"But what do you get?" May asked suspiciously.
"Men don't do things for nothing."
Tom smiled sadly. "I get a family. And maybe those kids get the future their father wanted for them. Seems like a fair trade to me." May was quiet for a long time, staring out at the darkening landscape. "I have nothing to give you," she finally said. "No money, no way to repay such kindness." "I'm not asking for repayment." "Yes, you are," she said, turning to look at him directly.
"You are asking me to be your wife."
"That is a debt I cannot pay."
"I loved my husband. I wear his memory like uno wear my own skin."
"I'm not asking you to love me," Tom said. "I'm asking you to let me help. The rest, we figure out as we go." May's eyes filled with tears. "Will you buy my wedding dress?" she asked suddenly. "It is the only thing of value I have."
"Beautiful red silk with gold dragons.
"Worth maybe $2,000–3,000.
I sell it to you."
"Then I am not taking charity. I am making a deal."
Tom understood then.
It was about pride, about maintaining some sense of dignity in a situation that had stripped her of nearly everything. "How about this?" he said. "How about I pay you $5,000 for the dress, and you put that money aside for your kids' education? Deal?" May searched his face for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Deal." They were married 3 weeks later in a simple ceremony at the courthouse, with Rosa and Dr. Martinez as witnesses. May wore a simple blue dress that Rosa had altered to fit her. The immigration paperwork was filed the same day. Tom's lawyer assured him that while the process would take time, May's case was strong, especially given the circumstances of her arrival and her children's needs. The first months were awkward. May and the children lived in the guest house while Tom remained in the main house. She insisted on working, helping Rosa with cooking and cleaning, tending a small garden she planted near the guest house. The children began attending school in town, and Tom watched with quiet satisfaction as they transformed from frightened, hollow-eyed waifs into normal, boisterous kids. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. Tom found himself looking forward to dinner times, when May would bring food to the main house and they'd eat together, talking about the day. She had a quick wit and a sharp mind, and she challenged him in ways he hadn't been challenged in years. The children began calling him Uncle Tom, and then just Uncle, and he found himself teaching young Liang to ride, watching with pride as the boy conquered his fear of the horses. One evening, nearly 6 months after their courthouse wedding, May came to the main house carrying a large wrapped package. "I want to show you something," she said. Tom watched as she carefully unwrapped the package, revealing the red silk wedding dress. It was indeed beautiful, the fabric shimmering in the lamplight, the gold dragons seeming to move and breathe across the material. "In my culture," May said softly, "the wedding dress is very important. It represents not just marriage, but family, heritage, future. When I sold you this dress, I thought I was selling my past. But now I think maybe I was buying a future." She looked up at him, her eyes bright with tears. "You gave me back my pride that day.
You made me not a begarbata partner, you gave me a way to hold my head up." "May!"
Tom started, but she held up a hand.
"Let me finish.
"These months, I watch you. You are kind man. Good man. You love my children like they are your own. You never ask for anything from me, but you give everything. And I think maybe my Chen, he would like you. He would be happy knowing someone like you watches over his family." She took a deep breath. "I cannot promise you love.
I don't know if my heart can love again.
But I can promise you partnership.
I can promise you loyalty.
I can promise you that I will try every day to be a good wife, not just on paper but in truth.
If you still want this. If you want Stati Uniti."
Tom felt something shift in his chest, a wall he hadn't even known was there crumbling. "I want this," he said quietly.
"I want you.
All of you. For as long as you'll have me." May smiled then, really smiled, and handed him the dress. "Then this belongs in the family chest, where wedding dresses should be kept. Maybe someday, little Hua will wear it. Maybe someday, she will marry a good man like her uncle, and this dress will represent not my old life, but our new one." Tom took the dress carefully, reverently. "I never wanted to buy your dress, May. I just wanted to give you a way to say yes with dignity." "I know," she said simply. "That is why it is yours. And that is why I am yours, if you will have me." The years that followed were not always easy, but they were good. May's immigration status was eventually resolved, her green card approved. The children grew, thrived, excelled in school. Liang became a veterinarian, choosing to return to the ranch after college to start a practice nearby. Hua became a teacher, like her mother had been, and eventually wore the red silk dress at her own wedding, the gold dragons gleaming as she married a young rancher from a neighboring property. And Tom and May, who had come together out of desperation and necessity, found something neither had expected. A second chance at happiness, built on mutual respect, growing affection, and the understanding that sometimes the best families are the ones we choose rather than the ones we're born into. The red silk dress remained in the family chest, a reminder not of what had been lost, but of what had been found, in the harsh Texas desert, where a widow's desperate question to a lonely rancher had transformed both their lives in ways neither could have imagined.